after we finish reciting the King of Aspiration prayers. I would like the Dharma friends on this side to stay back for a moment. There are a few things I would like to say. There is also another announcement. Today is Tuesday. On Sunday, this coming Sunday, at 8 o'clock in the evening, I will give a talk titled, How to Transform Suffering into Happiness. It will be a simple public teaching. At that time, the setup will likely be the same as now, and the talk will also be translated into 2 languages. During that session, I will also give some transmissions for the Heart Sutra, as well as a refuge ceremony on Sunday. This is because I have not yet finalized some of this week's classes. But as for other things, possibly, all right, let us decide to discuss the classic of filial piety on Saturday. Perhaps you all want to rest, but I still feel that we must strictly control our time. Otherwise, if we listen to our conceptual thoughts, the mind will never want to attend even a single class. And I would not want to teach either. But I also do not follow my conceptual thoughts, right? If I listen to conceptual thoughts, people would not want to teach or attend classes.
Druanzen la kapsara, Druanzen, Julatzan, Betramami, Petropi, Nadger Sonsi, Druanzen, Kikan Sura, Jondan, the Kivetan, but the Jonjan, Cherry Motu, Tejilatazin of Jondan, the Dogumumber, Tirchina, Rangerni named Chipichi, Tse, Dutter Dichinji, Womo Nutre, Womo Nistung, Yons of course, the Gashinki, Chaviki, Sernian, the Alayan Limb. Dakalavar tem chide, the Girkawalam Gu Sham Sarnetin, Kordam Chepi, Dalam Dungi, Tete, Chukchikdum Chusu, Dagno, Tela Yashin Dilay Wombola, Nyamba Kette, the Katel and Derkichi, Giso, Koshika Chulaburgonso, Dopatala Tamset Vario per Kishi, lead of Jordan, Lonshun, La Nyambo Lawata, Martabastoba, Manda Kishi, Teneti, Dalan Derkichim Chuso, Stevedambal, Hey, Womo, Chen Niston, the Duck. Le Choti Longland, the Choti Yoki Shigi, Chivada. They love the Kandarka, Koshika, Mar, Roma Mayan, Hungupota, gave Jean Shakti la Mamberchi, they took Nela Roma Mayan or Jiso. Come Chitip Gibada, Lutzamba Chamame Patrabam Chine, Dalan Dirkut, Rikivan, the love Yashin and the Nyamdas, the Shi Mafkichin, the Diction, the Chola Junjavisher the Guma, Yashin Mayan or Jirmego. Then Lutzamba Chamame Patrab, the Diction Landerkut, the Diction. He, Bomo, Durnam gave Jean Shakti la Roma Mayan being Nala Genji Gibata. The Diction Jishan, Chagni, Magarte, Lutzamba Chamame Petrabati, Dagla Fliwo. Fliwo, Jim, Murnover, given server money, the Resumption Tanjaf number of money. So the Varna, the adoption, the diction, Chuti leave a modernum, Stevetan Bandala Perjigdan, Dodo Darkines, Johnny Beren Euro. They never did the diction in Jixian, Chagni, months of Jun, the leave a modedo, Perlo. There's no Perlo. They need to Mammy Petrovi, they need to Mammy Petrovi, leave a modernum, Lani, leave a model, and Darkichis Meso. Chod of the Dichinji, Ngala, Shinji, the Lana Mepayan of Porzobo Shanchip, the Simkichi, the Tedala Shanchip, the Yons of member in Jerism, and Birtam, Giba Tedam Shanchip, the Simkido. The Nea, the Tedala Kedna, Nga Shanchip, the Simkid Zende, Tap Hanchu, Ketchu, Jikan Gavala Gazan, Muber Kilan, Dopa, Tala Gawe Muber, Mashi Chichi Guso. Tedakar Meba, Chuchi Gavala Gavate Kanla. Meba Sanki la Mupchipi Tapa Gavatan, Chula Nyamberdopia Gavatan, Gendal of Nimgur Gavatan, Narkir Mecham, Lamit the Yantak Turtom Shipper Gavatan, Narkir Mecham. Kamkunim Jor Gavatan, Yerunamla, Magnipur Gavatan, Narkir Mecham, Lama Turtom Shikiva, Kunim Jor Gavatan, Yernam Magnipur Gavatan. Pombor Navla, Sit Martaver Tobatan, Kamnam, Dirbatam, Tomber Tobatan, James Cheddar Nam La, Johnstone Tower, Wimber Gavatan, Shanchip Sim, Jomor Gavatan, Samson La Pamber Gavatan, Jimba, Goshev Shipper Gavatan, Satum La Marta, Satum La Malhoper Gavatan, Zopa Zocham, Terror Gavatan, Sonji La Geva Yantop, Dribber Gavatan, Santan la yong su super gada, Sherib Nyomon Barna, Mebel gada, Shan Chivlar, Yachir gada, the Tsar super gada, Nyomondam Gibber Jumber gada, Santi Jan Tapre Jong gada, Sanda, Huishil Zambo Yonsu, Dribishir gada. Gaya tamchi sabala gada, chuza motubala matabr gada, number tarvi, goksum lan, dibershipi gada, nyanglin dibi mubala gada, shanchipji nyambur gyanla gada, ti mayambar tobar shepa, ti maram tobar mashibar gada, karwam nyambi kiola, nyambar gada, karwam nyambar namla jir, danja, kungchu mepr gada, gevish yenyam namla nyambar gada, Dugbu Chokbor Namlar Power Gavada, Chu Musha, Tapate, Chokta Gavi Gavada, Tabla Dupi Gavada, Variopur, Shanchip Chuji Chok Timberla Gavate, Tirtana, Shanchip San Chundana, Gun Gavi, Gun La Gaja Muba Yano, Tiniv Dada Dichin, Liva Moteta Landerkijir Meso, Tabdach Nes and Donshi, Tsurshokji, Dedakar me by Chochi, Dag Kim Dagandala, Per Zambe, Chochi Chu Gala Gaja Mubar Shai. Ndopala no kaya mubra mafshago. Tene vdadar dikchingi lasan bachamame bachapala ndarkachir me so shanchu sanhwa chembo. Udoba domju yonsu gyujong zumubra lona. Jandar kyogi leva mondar na dibruch zuri chamame bachapir meba. Ndarna geba yenja dikchin ayogdan chede tanshi semchin tamchi ki chuji samba yonsa zobra gyurju teni lewa mote da qachama bachag bala shigmsar ne ndurkijir mezo kimda chirtar dagchag dukki gnenen davra gir meba chamo da mazba droma jivya chuji goyo te te nandar ki se te kanji nandar tate chamo da droma chigle droma gyarton barwa shijang droma mjawar manjirwa te jin da chamo da shanchu sanwa gi semchin gyarton mambornam shanchib lap ko nyam shanchib sanwa ti sem chamber mamje yonsu mamje wistan dam perlo devjin do geve chu tamje kyan chirta chirtar ne bala go jam tamba tertir gevi churnam tamchir namram herte te ne mazza bi do ma jibi chu gir go de kir ne te na chod ne bi tse Liva dans Liva Motsad me ba dans la chance de Mubr qui shi tertre qui devient shabe shibar zoberin gyoro semjan tamchi jan soberin gyoro deni Liva mote ta qalatsan batma me petrabi kanwalam gobi shir shete datang lanchik dar lar shuso Jondan de lazam batma me petrabar nambaram chirbe kyabarate dakam tongte Jondan de ti lat dagar kiev tamba ti zhon zhezham chever mezhzhou wo.
Next, we will study the Vimalakirti Sutra. Studying the Vimalakirti Sutra may be somewhat different from studying other treatises. Studying a sutra is not always easy to understand. Furthermore, some of its meanings may not perfectly align with the concepts of modern life. Because of this, perhaps those who do not have particularly strong confidence in Buddhism, especially those who focus heavily on their practical everyday lives, and are not especially interested in the profound teachings of Buddhism, will find it very difficult to attend these classes long term. I believe that for the majority of Buddhist practitioners, this sutra is very important on one hand. It explains the most profound teachings of Vajrayana or Mahayana Buddhism. It explains them very clearly. On the other hand, for each of us, when we face afflictions and suffering, it contains many essential teachings and pith instructions. So as you are listening to these teachings, unless there are special circumstances, you should persist in listening. Many scholars in the West have always believed that no matter what happens, meaningful goals should be pursued to the end with courageous perseverance. This is a principle that many people in politics, academia, business, or even the medical field hold in very high regard. For those of us who practice Mahayana Buddhism, we also need to have persistent diligence. Sustained and unwavering diligence is indispensable. Now let us continue teaching the Vimalakirti Sutra. We have covered how each of the 10 great disciples went to Vimalakirti, the layman, to inquire about his illness. Then among the Bodhisattvas, some of them also went to visit Vimalakirti, the layman. There were also some teachings given. Today we discuss a different Bodhisattva. The Buddha spoke to Maintains the World Bodhisattva. As for Maintains the World Bodhisattva, Some commentaries say he is a monastic bodhisattva. He is also a remarkable Dharmakaya master. Generally, he understands many Dharma aspects only when in meditative absorption. But when he emerges from meditative absorption, certain things are not as clear to him. The following passage discusses how Mara disguised himself as Shakra Devanamindra. However, the Bodhisattva did not realize this at first. Later, Mara brought 12,000 celestial maidens to his side to tempt him, and he still did not realize who they were at first. Later, Vimalakirti the layman discovered the truth. Upon discovering this, Vimalakirti the layman taught the Dharma to the celestial maidens. In the end, they returned to their own demon realm. Mara's magical transformation was unsuccessful. This occurred in the presence of Maintains the World Bodhisattva. Maintains the World Bodhisattva initially did not notice the deception. The main story today is as follows. Later, Vimalakirti the layman turned the Dharma wheel for the celestial maidens and Mara. Actually, looking at the content of the Vimalakirti Sutra thus far, it consists mostly of various teachings given by Vimalakirti the layman. The Buddha then provides recognition and praise. Therefore, as we study, we are consistently learning the teachings of a lay practitioner. So after studying the Vimalakirti Sutra, I hope that lay practitioners everywhere will propagate the Dharma with a pure mind. In this regard, you must take on a certain responsibility. You must have a sense of responsibility. Why did we choose to teach the Vimalakirti Sutra this time? The reason is that across the world today, if we rely solely on monastics to propagate the Dharma, it is naturally limited. The number of monastics is also limited. There are also certain difficulties in various aspects. Furthermore, monastics are not always comfortable in certain settings. Just like here in Laranga, it is a monastic world marked by red robes. Being a monastic here is quite dignified, but whether we wear red robes, yellow robes, or robes that are not so brightly colored like gray, whether we are in schools or in certain public settings, it is often not very convenient. So as lay practitioners moving about like Vimalakirti the layman, it is quite convenient in all parts of the world. Many people have also suggested this to me now, whenever I visit various places, including certain schools. Many people ask me, could you wear a regular overcoat over your robes? I tell them that if I have to do that, I will not go in. So perhaps in certain times and places, the lay form is more easily accepted by society. Most people find it quite acceptable. For us monastics, we are accepted in some places, but not in others. So many people should practice in a lay form. However, if you are a monastic, I do not suggest you disguise yourself as a lay person to propagate the Dharma. If it comes to that, it will still lead to trouble. It is better to use your monastic identity to propagate the Dharma. That would be a better approach. If you are a lay person, it is best to maintain your lay identity. But lay people should also not pretend to be monastics. This is also an issue sometimes. It seems some lay people now, including some in Tibetan Buddhism, wear monastic robes when they go to modern cities. This includes some who go to the 4 sacred mountains to reside. Some nearby farmers, in order to earn an income, shave their heads and wear monastic robes. After the retreat ends, they go home and return to farming. But I will not dwell on those matters. Next, let us discuss the Buddha's request to Maintains the World Bodhisattva, asking him to go and inquire about Vimalakirti's illness. At this time, Maintains the World Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha, "World-honored one, I truly do not dare to go and inquire about Vimalakirti's illness." What is the reason for this? The reason is, as I remember, there was once a time when I was residing in a quiet place for meditation. At this time, Mara the evil one, attended by 12,000 goddesses, disguised himself as Shakra Devanamindra. Generally, Shakra Devanamindra resides in the Triyastrimsha heaven, which is the heaven of the 33. Mara disguised himself as Shakra, accompanied by drums, music, song, and dance. His procession was magnificent. He brought so many celestial maidens with great fanfare to where I was. At this moment, what is it that we need to understand? One point is regarding when people are in retreat or meditation. This is very important. But perhaps they have not noticed that Mara will also try to harm those in retreat or those engaged in actual practice. They will sometimes try to inflict harm, creating all kinds of obstacles. You see, this bodhisattva was also meditating in a quiet place. But unexpectedly, Mara and his goddesses appeared before him. Regarding Mara, the evil one mentioned here, the name Papiyas means the one who creates evil. That refers to great evil or great wickedness. Actually, there are 3 kinds of evil. The first is when someone harms me and I harm them back. That is evil. The second is when someone has not harmed me, but I deliberately choose to harm them. This is called great evil. There is yet another kind of evil where someone is very respectful, makes offerings, and treats me very well, but I still inflict harm upon them. This is known as the evil among evils, the greatest evil. The name Papiyas here actually means an evil person, an extremely evil one, truly wicked. So Papiyas is really the evil among evils, the worst of all. In Tibetan, he is called Tekchen. Tekchen carries the meaning of possessing evil. In Sanskrit, it is Papiyas, meaning an evildoer, Mara the evil one. We often say Mara the evil one. He is the king of demons in the celestial realm. He brought so many celestial maidens before the Bodhisattva. There is a sutra, likely translated by Dharmaraksha, called the Mara Parajaya Sutra, or the Sutra of Mara's defeat. In this sutra, it is said that a celestial being asked Manjushri Bodhisattva, "Where does Mara the evil one dwell?" Manjushri Bodhisattva replied, "Mara dwells within diligence." When we taught the verse summary of Prajnaparamita, we noted that Mara cannot harm an extremely diligent person. But according to the view in the Sutra of Mara's defeat, Mara especially likes to target those who are very diligent in wholesome Dharma. If someone is quite lazy or slack, Mara can do nothing with such a person. Therefore, when some of us study, reflect, and practice, we might experience headaches, pain, or heavy adverse conditions. This actually shows that you are being especially diligent. Some Dharma friends frequently encounter various adverse conditions during their studies. When such conditions arise, you should not think, "Oh, I am possessed, what should I do?" Actually, that is not the case at all. Because of your great diligence and the wholesome Dharma of your practice, Mara generally cannot stand it. At such times, he will go and create some adverse conditions for you. This includes the process of generating our aspiration, where one may lose confidence. In the process of doing good deeds, we might encounter various obstacles. What is this exactly? It is what we often call being possessed by demons. Actually, being possessed does not necessarily mean a creature with eyes, a wide mouth, and claws, or an extremely frightening being coming to devour you. It is not like that. It refers to when one's own mind moves in the direction of evil, and the wholesome mind fails to make any progress. That kind of state is called being possessed. So here, Mara the evil one, together with his goddesses, came here disguised as these celestial beings. In that case, the text says, together with his retinue, referring to the goddesses and subordinates I just mentioned, they all bowed at my feet. That is to say, before maintains the world Bodhisattva, all these subordinates and Mara, who was disguised along with the goddesses, prostrated before him. Then with joined palms, they sat reverently to one side. At this time, I thought, maintains the world Bodhisattva thought this was the true Shakra Devana Mindra. In the Han tradition, Shakra Devana Mindra is called the Jade Emperor. In Sanskrit, his name is Kausika. Some sources say that Kausika refers to his past life, as it was his name in a previous life. In Chinese, we call him Kyaoshija. In Sanskrit, it should be pronounced Kausika. Regarding the Jade Emperor, when we were in middle school, we read, "The Monkey King creates havoc in heaven." It seems many children today are also especially fond of it. It is from Journey to the West. Actually, the story describes him creating havoc in the heavenly palace. That is also what the name implies. At that time, he was taken to be Shakra, and I said, "Welcome, Kausika. It is very good that you have come, Shakra Devana Mindra. Although you have great merit, you should not be so dissolute and self-indulgent." Because he had arrived with so many beautiful goddesses, along with drums, strings, singing, and dancing. They appeared before him in all sorts of ways. So at that time, maintains the world Bodhisattva, found it inappropriate. Although you have great fortune, and Trayastrimsha heaven with such a vast retinue and wealth, you should contemplate the impermanence of the 5 desires of form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. You should earnestly seek the foundation of goodness and seek the Dharma. You should cultivate the perduring dharmas with regard to your body, life, and wealth. This is very important. We also often say that through practice, one should contemplate all worldly pleasures as impermanent and empty. Then, regarding one's own body, what we often call the Dharmakaya, life of wisdom, and the 7 noble riches, will never be exhausted. Our worldly body without flows, as well as our wealth and life without flows, will very quickly become impermanent. So each one of us should transform our body into the Dharmakaya, transform our life into wisdom, and transform all our wealth into an inexhaustible treasure, which we can freely enjoy across all future lives. This is what it means to accomplish the perduring Dharma. If we accept the existence of past and future lives, then many people have the opportunity to accomplish the perduring Dharma, because the wholesome Dharma of this present life can be enjoyed and used without end across all future lives. This is entirely possible. If I have only one lifetime, and a person's existence is terminated after that, then once this body is ruined, it is gone. Once this current life form is ruined, it is over. Once this life's wealth is gone, it is lost forever. But in reality, each of us should be more advanced than animals. Animals, for example, might not have any lofty ideals for the future beyond their daily survival if we only have goals for this present life and no goals for our future lives. Then in a certain sense, we humans are not truly wise because we do not even understand our own future. In that case, it does not matter if you are a scientist or a thinker or someone who has contributed greatly to society if you are completely bewildered about your own future prospects. That is a great pity indeed. So what is being discussed here is that Maintains the World Bodhisattva was asking Shakra to practice well. He believed that he was the true Shakra. At this time, Shakra said to me, or rather to Maintains the World Bodhisattva, "Oh good sir, oh good sir." A term we often encountered when we studied the Sakya aphorisms. It can mean a wise person, a great master, or a gentleman. "Oh good sir, please accept these 12,000 goddesses I have brought today. I am offering so many beautiful maidens to you. You can have them serve as your attendants. They can help you with cleaning, washing clothes, cooking, and carrying water. They can do all kinds of tasks. 12,000 is far too many for a single practitioner. However, looking back at Indian history, or even ancient Chinese history, it was common for an imperial palace to have 3 palaces, 6 courts, and 72 consorts. Historically, such things did exist. Likewise, looking at the history of India, a king might have thousands or even tens of thousands of consorts, but perhaps these are just rhetorical expressions. People often enjoy using such rhetorical flourishes. In India, when it comes to rhetorical expressions, there are certain habitual descriptors and large numbers used for effect. For example, saying thousands upon 10,000s, it does not literally mean 1,000 or 10,000, but this is a common way of speaking. Perhaps some terms in Buddhism, as well as in other religions, also use such enormous numbers. Some of these are likely meant to be representative or indicative, or perhaps such large numbers truly exist. That is something for historians to explore in time. In any case, at that time, 12,000 goddesses appeared and he offered them to me. Some commentaries suggest that to lure or seduce a practitioner, they might use beautiful women, money, or wealth, or any number of other things, including status, fame, and worldly profit as temptations. When temptation arises, as a practitioner, one might initially feel that this is a very favorable condition. But in reality, it has already become a demonic condition and an adverse condition. So as practitioners, sometimes in our actual daily lives, it might look like I'm very famous now. So many people are coming to prostrate before me. I am very successful, and so many people are respectful to me. But gradually, one may become more self-indulgent and lose all restraint and proper mindfulness. Many behaviors become less in accordance with the Dharma. In the end, what you initially considered a favorable condition and the happiness you thought you had have already become an adverse condition or a cause of suffering. As practitioners, we should also, when things are going relatively well, remember to hold on to your pure mind, which is very important. At that time, he said, "Kausika, do not offer such unlawful things to the Shramanas of Shakyamuni. This is unreasonable." He said, offering women to practitioners is not right. Master Kuiji's commentary also states that women and music should not be bestowed, especially upon a practitioner such as him, because such things destroy the pure mind. He was by nature practicing purely in a quiet place. After all, he is a monastic. Monastics have their own precepts. At such a moment, if Shakra Devanamindra, together with so many goddesses, were to offer them to him, he certainly could not accept. The reason is that it would destroy his discipline and also destroy his aspiration for the Dharma. So he refused at that time, right in the midst of this exchange, and before the conversation was finished. The conversation between the two of them had not yet ended. Perhaps Shakra was saying, "It is fine, I must offer them, I must offer them. It is convenient for you, there is no problem," and kept on like this. Maintains the World Bodhisattva kept saying, "No, no." Right at this moment, Vimalakirti, the layman, arrived. He arrived. Vimalakirti, the layman, arrived. After arriving, he Maintains the World Bodhisattva, "You should be careful, for he is not Shakra Devanamindra. He is in reality the true Mara. Mara, the evil one, has personally come before you to disturb you. He has come to tempt and beguile you. Do you not know? Are you so dull? How could you be? He is absolutely not Shakra Devana Mindra. Indeed, Vimalakirti the layman is quite impressive, for as some commentaries say, Mara sometimes transforms into a Buddha to teach the Dharma to people, but some bodhisattvas of shallow wisdom do not easily detect it. Perhaps we practitioners are the same. Some, indeed, in the course of practice, might encounter what appears to be a demonic condition, but because their wisdom is limited in all aspects, they cannot detect it. In any case, at that time, Vimalakirti the layman came and told him, he is not Shakra Devana Mindra, he is Mara. At this time, Mara became very frightened. He thought to himself, Vimalakirti the layman has begun to trouble me. The word trouble here, it seems, does not necessarily carry a negative meaning. He thought to himself, Vimalakirti will certainly reprimand or obstruct me this time. He will surely be furious with me. He will not let me off this time. The word translated as trouble in Tibetan, Sanskrit, and other versions may not actually function as a negative particle. Or perhaps it is intended as a rhetorical question. It is as if he were asking, Vimalakirti will certainly not let me go this time, will he? He was muttering this in his mind. With a question mark implied, he was thinking, he may not let me go. It is a form of rhetorical expression. He was fretting and muttering to himself. Then he prepared to vanish and leave. He immediately tried to use his magical powers to transform, but he could not become invisible. At that moment, he looked exactly as Shakra Devana Mindra had appeared before. He seemed frozen and unable to do anything. Though he was originally Mara, he had transformed into Shakra Devana Mindra. Yet now, no matter what he did, his magical transformations would not work. He exhausted all of his supernatural powers. However, Mara the evil one had no way to return to his original state. Just at that time, a voice sounded from empty space. It was unclear whose voice it was. The voice in space said, Mara the evil one, you should offer these goddesses to this great being. Yes, that is the meaning. The voice from space said, Mara, the evil one, offer these goddesses to this great being. Only then will you be able to leave. At that time, Mara was somewhat frightened, but he was also unwilling in his heart. The text here says he bowed and gave, bowing and giving in a state of reluctance, or perhaps in a state of hesitation. He was extremely unwilling but had no choice. So reluctantly, he gave those goddesses to Vimalakirti the layman. He offered them to him. At that time, Vimalakirti the layman told these women, Mara, your great boss, has already given you to me. He had said earlier, as was mentioned just now, he told Mara, if the monastic does not need them, I will accept them. Those goddesses can come to me. I can accept them. It seems this was not explicitly spoken just now. Yet there was such a line in the middle. At that time, Vimalakirti the layman told these women, Mara has already given you to me. My requirement is that you must all generate the intention to achieve Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And after they generated that aspiration, each goddess's capacity was likely different. In accordance with each one's capacity, he taught the Dharma. He also had them generate their own aspirations. Kumarjiva's commentary also states that a woman will follow whoever her master is. If her master is a demon, then she follows the demon in evil conduct. If her master is a bodhisattva, then she follows this bodhisattva in practicing the bodhisattva path. A woman will follow whoever her master is. Of course, this is said primarily with respect to the goddesses. In reality, it is not only women. Men are the same. For example, if one's leader has faith, then those below him gradually come to have faith as well. If the master is someone who slanders the principles of cause and effect, then the majority of those below will follow that master. So now in this world, whether they are entrepreneurs or key leaders of schools, their thinking and their power play an extremely large role within their sphere, just like the thinking of a nation's highest leader can mobilize everyone across the country. It is the same for a village head. His thinking directly influences those below him. Even the abbot of a monastery, the primary responsible person, influences all the monks and nuns of the monastery. There is a certain relationship there. So going forward, no matter how high an official you are, no matter how much power or influence you have, in reality, you have a great influence on those related to you. This includes our family, where the big boss with the most power and their thinking plays an enormously large role for everyone, both large and small, in the family. Therefore, Vimalakirti, the layman, told these goddesses, Mara has already given you to me. You should now begin to generate Bodhicitta and benefit all beings. And he further told these goddesses, you have now generated the aspiration for the path and Bodhicitta. There is Dharma joy that you can enjoy and take delight in. You can directly enjoy the kind of joy that comes from the true Dharma. You should not enjoy the 5 sense pleasures, and you should not enjoy worldly happiness. This aspect is very important. There is indeed a difference between worldly happiness and the joy of the Dharma. Some people might think, for example, regarding some of our monastics or Buddhist practitioners, that because they do not eat meat and do not engage in many things that people in the world enjoy, then in that case, their lives must be very painful, lonely, and especially desolate. Some people hold this kind of thinking. In reality, many people may not realize that the happiness they enjoy may be even greater than worldly happiness. The Dasashadhyayina Vinaya says, having seen the faults of the world and seen the Dharma, one finds no joy in outflows. When one has already seen the faults of the world, one loses interest in worldly things that lead to further outflows. A noble being does not enjoy evil, while an evil being does not enjoy goodness. This means that a noble being never likes to commit evil acts. And for an evil person, they never like to create wholesome karma. This is indeed the case. Looking at some butchers or those with poor karmic foundations, no matter how you explain the joys of transcending the world, they cannot relate. This is because the karmic affinity is absent. They simply cannot experience it. However, if someone belongs to the noble lineage, they have a very strong inclination toward wholesome dharma from a young age. They simply have no desire to commit evil acts even as children. So there is indeed a great difference in the root capacity of each person. Sometimes I think to myself, I would not dare call myself a particularly remarkable monk, but perhaps in past lives I had a slight aspiration toward Mahayana Buddhism, and perhaps I had some habitual tendency toward the monastic life, because since I was young, killing sentient beings was something I was extremely unwilling to do. In any case, truly, regarding the matter of killing, we did not have very good education back then. The overall environment at that time had not yet opened up. Even in such an era, I felt a great fear in my heart of creating negative karma, especially killing. Each of us may have our own stories from past lives. We may not necessarily be able to recall those stories, but in the present, what we call similar natured results can be observed through shared patterns of behavior. For example, if a person especially loves to kill, we can infer through this that perhaps they were also someone who killed beings in a past life. If a person does not love to kill, their past life identity might not be especially clear, but perhaps they have a slight habitual tendency in this regard. It is good for many of us to observe ourselves in this way. These are some of the worldly pleasures. There is a certain difference between them. Vimalakirti told them that they should never again take pleasure in the 5 desires. Instead, they should amuse themselves in the joy of the Dharma. When he said this, the goddesses asked, "What is the joy of the Dharma?" Now, the most central theme begins to appear. What is the joy of the Dharma? Actually, this is very important. All of us here also need to understand this. I truly hope many people can experience the joy of the Dharma. If you experience the joy of the Dharma, then you will not necessarily cling so deeply or be so infatuated with all the various kinds of worldly happiness. Once you understand some of the joy of the Dharma, then naturally, actually we can sometimes see this. For instance, in our Larongga, there are so many monastics. What they enjoy is essentially the joy of the Dharma. They have given up much of what people in the world call happiness. But does this mean they are all suffering? Perhaps not. In fact, if they had not chosen such a path, they might be suffering even more. As the Pittaputra Samagma Sutra states in a line I like very much, If one has true clarity about the Dharma, then one loses desire for the 5 sensory pleasures. If one has truly come to understand the Dharma, then one's craving and clinging toward worldly pleasures diminishes. Such a one skillfully tames the mind and is able to break through all afflictions. Such a person can very easily tame their own mind. They can easily eliminate the afflictions of craving, aversion, and delusion within their mind stream. So first we should understand what the joy of the Dharma is. The joy of the Dharma is explained in more detail below. I may not necessarily explain each point one by one, but you should understand them. I truly hope everyone enjoys the joy of the Dharma, transforming some of life's ordinary happiness into the joy of the Dharma. This is why I mentioned earlier that I want to give a talk on Sunday. I just thought of it suddenly. As practitioners, we should lead a somewhat happier life, even though life involves much suffering. Suffering is the nature of life, and there is no real happiness in it. Yet within such a life of suffering, we can still experience the joy of the Dharma. Worldly life is suffering. However, if you enjoy the taste of the Dharma, perhaps you can also feel some happiness in life. This kind of happiness is not something everyone can enjoy. Only some people can frequently experience this kind of supramundane joy. So perhaps once more I want to proclaim that whether we are volunteers, Dharma masters, or lay practitioners, practicing the Dharma should bring more and more happiness. Practicing Dharma should not mean being enthusiastic at the beginning, only for this person to end up with depression, that person to get heart disease, another to develop schizophrenia, or someone else to become mentally ill. In such cases, we would feel that naturally our physical health is getting worse and worse. This is a certainty. In the future, the 4 elements within each of us will inevitably diminish. It is impossible for them to become more vigorous or improve over time. That would not be in accordance with the laws of nature, but if our minds can experience the joy of the Dharma, then even if our bodies are not well at all, the mind can still abide in a state of Dharma joy. By teaching the Vimalakirti Sutra this year, we hope that many people from the depths of their hearts, without any pretense or hypocrisy, can truly experience this kind of joy in the Dharma. If you do, then no matter what you are doing, as we discussed yesterday, wherever you are is a place of enlightenment. If we possess this Dharma joy, we can feel happiness in any situation. So what happens next in the text? At that time, the goddesses asked a question. The goddesses were in a bit of a muddle here. First, they were offered to the maintains the world, Bodhisattva, and then they were handed over to Vimalakirti the layman. So all these women were just standing there. They asked Vimalakirti the layman, what exactly is the joy of the Dharma? Then Vimalakirti the layman answered them. I recall how some of our Dharma friends would act when they were young. They would go before Padmasambhava and ask, may I have the apple sitting in front of you? Then they would talk to themselves as if answering. Padmasambhava says, yes, you may have it. Then the child would take the apple and eat it. Afterward, they would say, thank you, Padmasambhava. I have finished the apple now. And they would reply to themselves, it's fine, just practice well from now on. They would carry on a conversation with themselves like this. Vimalakirti said, joy is to always trust the Buddha. Among the types of joy mentioned first, the very first is to always have joy in faith and never retreat. This means having faith in the Buddha and the 3 jewels. It is the joy of desiring to hear the Dharma, and the joy of making offerings to the monastic assembly. This refers to the 3 jewels as we often speak of them. These activities should make one very happy. To have faith in Buddhism, listen to the Dharma, and make offerings while being among the Sangha. This is an extremely joyful thing in our world. With the radiance and presence of the 3 jewels, it should be a source of great happiness. The Kushalamula Samparigraha Sutra also discusses this. It speaks of the joy when the 3 jewels appear in the world. Joy is the appearance of Buddhas, the teaching of the true Dharma, and the harmony of the Sangha. The Dharma makes us so very fortunate. With the Buddha, the teaching of the true Dharma, and the harmonious Sangha, our world should not be a place of darkness. It is not a dark age. With the radiance of the 3 jewels, we know what to adopt and what to abandon. Those without faith might not feel anything in particular. But for those with faith, truly, meeting the 3 jewels and a teacher in this lifetime is perhaps the most meaningful and fortunate event of our lives. Some people often say, my happiest moment is celebrating my birthday today. People often post on social media saying, I'm so happy today. This is my most blessed and joyful moment. But perhaps encountering the 3 jewels is the greatest joy of all. The text continues with many other points. The Tang translation may differ slightly from this version in a few places, but I will not go into detail here. You can look into that yourselves. Next is the joy to transcend the 5 desires. After taking refuge in the 3 jewels, this is equivalent to seeking pure discipline, because once you have taken refuge, you should not cling excessively to worldly pleasures. One should distance themselves from such things. However, this does not mean completely removing all forms of interest. We should maintain a keen interest in the principles of the Dharma. What kind of contemplation is suggested? Joy is to contemplate the 5 skandhas as vengeful bandits. This is because a vengeful bandit constantly plunders one's wealth against one's will. Similarly, the 5 skandhas cause us suffering by force. Then there is the joy to contemplate the 4 elements as poisonous snakes. The Tang and Tibetan translations mention the 18 dhatus here. This refers to the skandhas, the 18 dhatus, and the 12 ayatanas. Joy is to contemplate these elements as poisonous snakes. Whether we speak of the dhatus or the 4 elements, a poisonous snake can bite you very quickly, and its venom spreads through your entire body. In the same way, the 4 elements and the dhatus bring immense suffering into our mind stream. Next, joy is to contemplate the interior sensory capacities as being like empty aggregations. The interior sensory capacities refer to the inner 6 or 12 ayatanas. What should we like to frequently contemplate? Our sensory capacities, such as the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, are in reality nothing at all. When we truly examine them, whether we look at the 12 ayatanas or the inner 6, joy is to contemplate the interior sensory capacities as being like empty aggregations. There is nothing in them to cling to. Joy is to maintain one's intention for enlightenment in all situations. We should never forget our initial mind, the bodhicitta, or the intention for the path that we first generated. We must always protect it. Do not let it be that you are initially very vigorous and diligent with a pure mind, only to develop heavy views and wrong ideas the longer you study. If your afflictions keep surging up continuously and you end up giving up entirely, that would be a great pity. Each person should first learn how to protect their own state of mind. I truly hope that for many of our Dharma friends, even if you do not have any obvious miracles or supernatural powers, those things really do not matter. But your intention for the Dharma should never retreat. You should persist until your very last moment. When your inner breath finally ceases, you should still be a person of faith in the 3 jewels who upholds discipline. This is the baseline, and it is very important. I believe this is something everyone is capable of. If you had the freedom to make this choice at the beginning, you should also have the right to hold it until the end. So ensuring our intention for the path does not retreat is vital. When we discuss the tantric teachings, we also emphasize this. Higher attainments or supernatural powers are not necessary, but one's faith should never be allowed to slide back. This is something all of you here today should reflect on. Perhaps 10 or 20 years ago, when you listened to the Vimalakirti Sutra, you were a person who had faith in the 3 jewels. Even if some did not have deep realization yet, you were still a person with right knowledge and view. Then as you reach the final moments of your life, you should still be that same person. Do not go through life like an actor on a stage, playing a black person one moment and a white person the next, or acting as a king and then as a beggar. In our brief lives, there is no need for so many different roles. One should simply protect one's own intention for the path. Continuing with the text, joy is to benefit sentient beings. Joy is to revere teachers and rely upon them, respectfully relying upon and serving a spiritual teacher, even if they are a worldly guide. The text mentions relying on teachers again further down. Then below it says that joy is the extensive practice of charity, which is one of the 6 paramitas. Joy is the firm maintenance of the precepts. Discipline is the root of all merit. Some people think that discipline is very troublesome. They see it as a constraint they don't want, claiming to be believers in absolute freedom. Actually, with discipline, you will be even more joyful. For example, regarding some of our monastics, when I compare my life with that of my old classmates, many of them now think that we are doing quite well. In this light, discipline is not painful. It is not a constraint, a set of iron chains, or a cause of bondage. This is like the Bodhicitta Karma Sanghaya Sutra, which is a sutra that specifically praises the monastic community. It says that upholding discipline is the greatest happiness. It ensures the body does not suffer from various torments. Upholding discipline means the body will not suffer various types of harm. Sleep brings ease and comfort, and upon awakening, the heart is joyful. This means that if we have precepts, Discipline is actually a source of joy. It is not what some people claim it to be. In reality, what does it mean to have discipline? Your own body will not be subject to various bandits or hateful enemies. Those without precepts are often especially afraid of others hitting or killing them. But monastics and many lay practitioners have no need to be afraid. Also, one's sleep becomes very pure. You go to sleep early and wake up the next day after a very deep and sound sleep without any pressure. Because you sleep so well, you might even start looking healthier and more plump. So they are very happy. In this way, one may slowly attain realization. Upon attaining realization, the joy is even greater. At that point, there is no suffering whatsoever, obstacles that worldly people cannot overcome. Many practitioners pass through with great ease. So do not think that discipline is the most painful thing, or that it is merely a constraint. Many people today, especially in the West, often reject discipline. They ask, what is the point of refuge or monastic vows? These things are very painful for us. They may appear painful on the surface, but this kind of discipline exists at all levels of society. For entrepreneurs, the requirements are also high. Even a 5-star hotel has its own discipline for every single detail. Joy is forbearance and pliability. This means speaking gentle language and doing gentle things. Joy is the vigorous accumulation of good roots. This involves diligently accumulating wholesome roots. Joy is the lack of disturbance in meditation. It is when one's mind frequently abides in a state of non-scatteredness. One abides in a state of especially pure focus. Joy is to transcend the defilements in wisdom. This means departing from all defilements and stains. It is the ability to realize the wisdom of the selflessness of persons and phenomena. Joy is to disseminate bodhicitta, which means to generate the vast bodhicitta. Joy is the subjugation of the host of maras. Joy is the eradication of the afflictions. Joy is purification of the countries of the Buddhas. In the past, when we went on pilgrimage to the Vajra throne in India, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok led us in reciting a specific verse together. The power to purify all wholesome karma, to crush all afflictions, to subdue all demonic forces, and to fulfill Samantabhadra's conduct. He continuously recited this line from the King of Aspiration prayer: wholesome karma is purified. The power of afflictions is crushed. The power of demons is subdued. Samantabhadra's aspirational power is to be fulfilled. All of you here should also often recite this for yourselves. Even though we recite the King of Aspiration prayer every day, the merit gained from reciting it regularly is very great. This is because if we have subdued the demonic forces, crushed the afflictions, and purified our bodhicitta, then it seems that we have captured the essence of the teaching here. Purifying wholesome karma, subduing demonic karma, and crushing afflictions lead to the fruit of a pure Buddha field and Samantabhadra's fulfillment. This verse seems to correspond perfectly to what is in the Avatamsaka Sutra. In reality, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche had an especially strong aspiration toward doing good deeds. At that time, while performing circumambulations around the Bodhimanda, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok also walked very swiftly. He recited continuously while circumambulating the stupa of the Vajra throne. I also see some Dharma friends circumambulating the mandala especially fast. Oh, Mani Padme Hum. Some are holding a rosary, and I wonder if they might just fly right over the mandala. Especially in autumn and winter when the wind blows, their robes are billowing continuously. Combined with holding a rosary, we all worry they might fly right into the Ziking mountain valley. Joy is the accomplishment of the characteristics and marks based on the cultivation of the merits. Joy is ornamentation of the place of enlightenment. Regarding the ornamentation of the place of enlightenment, Master Sengzhao interprets it as the truly real Bodhimanda. Some speak of it as the practice center of the mind. This is the practice center of the mind that we discussed yesterday. Joy is to hear the profound Dharma without fear. This point is also very important. When we study the Madhyamaka or certain tantric teachings, we should have no fear of the profound Dharma. We should not immediately slander what we cannot accept. We at the Larangara are still doing quite well in this regard. Everyone has a very strong inclination to hear the Dharma. Just this morning, I went to secretly listen in on each class. I went to each location and listened for about 5 or 6 minutes. I observed how the master was teaching and how those below were listening. I was peering through the door crack to secretly listen. And in my heart, I felt very joyful. I felt so glad that so many masters have the opportunity to make offerings of Dharma, and that so many Dharma friends can enjoy this. Regarding our future use of the teaching hall, I hope very good arrangements can be made in these aspects. I've mentioned this before. In many universities in the West, classrooms are used in rotation. They are even used continuously during lunch. They are never left empty all the way until the evening. For instance, one class runs from 3 to 5 o'clock. Then from 5 to 7 o'clock another class begins. Sessions last for 2 hours or sometimes an hour and a half. When the next class arrives, the previous one must leave. They are always rotating like this. So whether it is for classrooms or practice centers in various places, everyone should come together to study if the conditions allow. This is extremely important. The strength of this collective effort is very great. Knowledge across the world is basically learned together in this way. There is healthy competition and examinations. After this, one's wisdom will keep growing. When the time comes, I believe the intention for the path for many of us will not retreat. Regarding the stage of non-retreating, everyone might still be swaying back and forth at the start. Perhaps some people's faith is still wavering and vacillating. It is moving rather than remaining immovable. It can be on the verge of collapse. Next, the text speaks of not fearing the profound Dharma. Joy is the three emancipations: emptiness, signlessness, and wishlessness. The Tang translation also mentions liking and practicing nirvana. It is not to take the pleasure at an inappropriate time. This refers to the nirvana of Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, which is untimely. Joy is to associate with fellow trainees. This means being close to fellow practitioners who share the same path. The term fellow trainee has been explained in this way before. This refers to classmates in the same class, those whose conduct is unified with one's own, and those of like mind and shared purpose should be frequently approached. Joy is for one's mind to be without hindrance in the midst of those who are not one's fellow trainees, even toward those who are not of like mind and shared purpose, or those who do not share the same faith, or those who are not of the same religion. One should not generate any aversion. One should not have a closed mind or feel any hostility and obstruction. This is also very important. Sometimes it seems like we identify as people of the academy, or we are people of a certain monastery, or we are people with faith. We might think that someone is a disciple of a different master, or that person belongs to another religion. Or we might say someone has no faith and think we should just ignore them. This kind of attitude is not very good. Truly merging with all beings is very important. Joy is to defend against evil friends. This refers to protecting oneself when there is disturbance from harmful teachers. In the Tibetan and Sanskrit versions, this actually means distancing oneself from harmful teachers. One should not be fond of harmful teachers. Otherwise, evil tendencies can increase very quickly. Joy is to associate closely with good friends. We have spoken about drawing close to spiritual teachers before. I was just thinking to myself yesterday, if next year in the wish-fulfilling treasury we could focus on the teaching on drawing close to spiritual teachers. We previously had this section printed separately for everyone as a draft, because now many people do not seem to understand the methods of drawing close to spiritual teachers. In Buddhism, drawing close to spiritual teachers is very important. Joy is to be happy and pure in mind toward the Dharma. The Tibetan version speaks of generating joy and pure faith toward the true Dharma. Then in some other translation versions it says, the joy of skillfully gathering beings through skillful means. This means enjoying the skillful means used to gather beings. And also joy is to cultivate the immeasurable factors of enlightenment. The Tang translation mentions non-indulgence. What does one cultivate? The boundless 37 limbs of enlightenment. Boundless limbs of enlightenment is also a fine description. So what is all this? These are the Bodhisattva's joy in the Dharma. Because just now these celestial maidens did not know what the joy of the Dharma was. Many of us here may also not know, just like the celestial maidens. We are also grateful to these celestial maidens for seeking the Dharma. Otherwise, many of us here would just spend our days knowing we are seeking the Dharma. But today, what was specifically sought was the Dharma of joy and happiness. So what is this exactly? He has already explained it here. Actually, regarding the Dharma of happiness, we should understand that the so-called happiness of the world passes in an instant. In the Sutra on the foundation of mindfulness of the true Dharma, there is a very good line. Sensory pleasure lasts but a single moment. It is neither joy nor lasting. The sensory pleasures of the world last but an instant. There is no real happiness in them. There is no permanence either. In an instant it turns into extreme suffering. Thus should one abandon sensory pleasures. In a very short time it turns into suffering. We have all experienced this. Sometimes we go to a garden, and with the blue sky and white clouds, it is very wonderful. During the summer, I often want to sit on the grass for a while. I think to myself that this is so joyful. But when I come back in the evening, my whole body is aching and exhausted. Comparing the joy of a moment ago with the suffering now, the joy of a moment ago was very brief. The current suffering feels very long. So for many things the world calls happiness, when we examine them with wisdom, they are indeed not genuinely real. So without the guidance of a spiritual teacher, these principles may not be understood. As the Avatamsaka Sutra says, the Dharma, without someone teaching it, even the wise cannot fully comprehend. If no one teaches the Dharma, even a person of wisdom may not necessarily understand it fully. Indeed, by relying upon a spiritual teacher who has experience, wisdom, and compassion, and following their guidance, one can penetrate many profound principles in a brief period of time. This is very important. So Vimalakirti, the layman, had already turned a wonderful Dharma wheel for these celestial maidens. He shared such a wonderful teaching. We also hope that everyone will look at this again and again. We should see if we can genuinely obtain true Dharma joy from it. Regarding the 6 paramitas we spoke of before, sometimes we actually dislike generosity. We dislike discipline and we dislike patience. It seems that we dislike all of these wholesome dharmas. Instead, we very much like distraction. We very much like indulgence. We very much like unrestrained freedom. Sometimes it seems that Mara Papias's ways accord especially well with us. If that is the case, then we are not genuine practitioners. We have become retinue members of Mara Papias. We have become his most capable disciples. So one should examine oneself. Are we ultimately disciples of Vimalakirti or disciples of Mara Papias? One should reflect on which one is the right choice. At that point, Mara, the evil one, announced to the women, he said, I want to return with you to the heavenly palace. The Dharma that needed to be obtained has already been obtained. In any case, let us return to our palace now. At this time, the women said to him, did you not just say, when you truly had no choice, that you already gave us to this retired scholar? We are extremely joyful in the joy of the Dharma. This Dharma is supremely precious. We will never again take pleasure in the 5 desires. We no longer have any interest in worldly pleasures. We are no longer interested in the 5 worldly sense pleasures. We are not going back. Mara Papias had absolutely no choice. Then he ran to Vimalakirti, the retired scholar. Layman, could you not forsake these women? Although I offered them to you under duress just now, I am now somewhat regretful. Could you please release these celestial maidens? I have heard that if a scholar is able to forsake everything, then he is a Bodhisattva. Could you not first give them to me? In the Tibetan version it says, Great Bodhisattva. He now addresses this layman as a great Bodhisattva. I am somewhat regretful about what I offered. Could you please bestow these results upon me? Then Vimalakirti said, I have already forsaken them. You may take them away, but you must make all sentient beings attain fulfillment of their vows. The Tang translation and other versions all say this. May all your sentient beings attain fulfillment. At that time, Vimalakirti said, I have already released them. I do not want them and I no longer need them. I used this opportunity to transmit the Dharma and guide them. There was no other purpose, so you may take them yourself. I also hope that through this karmic connection, all beings may have all their aspirations fulfilled. May they be thoroughly satisfied. He thus made this aspiration and vow for them. At this time, the women asked Vimalakirti, how should we reside in Mara's palace? When we return, how are we to live within the palace? Are we not now Buddhists? We have already generated Bodhicitta, so how could we go back? Going among demons would be so awkward and terrible. What would we even do there? We would rather stay here. If we go back, life in the mundane world will be so painful. At this time, Vimalakirti told them, sisters. Nowadays, many people do not like being called older sisters. They prefer terms like younger sister or beautiful lady. For men, they like being called handsome gentleman. You can use that term. But if you say older brother, they are very unhappy. They are even more unhappy with older sister. Generally, people have their own preferences. But at that time, he addressed them as ladies. Perhaps calling them miss is even more inappropriate now. He said there is a Dharma gate called the Inexhaustible lamp. This is what you should study. What is the Inexhaustible lamp? For instance, one lamp can ignite hundreds and thousands of other lamps. It can illuminate all darkness. All darkness can be dispelled and light can be obtained. And this light will never be exhausted. He uses the metaphor of a lamp. Thus it is, sisters. Thus it is, sisters. Little sisters. You could say little sisters. Little sisters might be a bit different. That is what they taught me. I do not know Chinese well, so I said little sisters to them. So then, dear little sisters, if a single bodhisattva guides hundreds and thousands of sentient beings, causing them to generate anuttara samyak sambodhi mind, that intention for the path will never be extinguished. Then one can also teach the Dharma according to the occasion. Their wholesome roots will grow more and more. This is what is called the inexhaustible lamp, because the demon maidens did not want to go back. Vimalakirti told them that there is a specific Dharma gate. It is the inexhaustible lamp Dharma gate. Actually, the inexhaustible lamp is in reality Bodhicitta. It is just like one lamp passing the flame onto countless other lamps. The original lamp will not be extinguished. Similarly, the anuttara samyak sambodhi mind that you have now attained will not be extinguished. Instead, cause the beings in the palace to form a connection with it. In this way, these beings will also benefit. So for many of us practitioners, for instance, some people in monasteries do not want to enter the mundane world. After studying the Dharma, some do not want to return home. Actually, this kind of thinking is not correct. Of course, if one has not yet awakened, or before having a certain degree of realization, perhaps the original intention was to propagate the Dharma, but instead one might be led astray by others. This possibility exists. But when one genuinely has an intention for the path, even in a place like Mara's palace, sentient beings can be benefited through bodhicitta. At that time, Vimalakīrti, the retired scholar, instructed them to go back. What will you do when you return? You must transmit the truth to them. In this way, one person teaches 10, and 10 teach 100. In the end, many beings will benefit. So if one can maintain this spirit in Mara's palace, we, after all, are not residents of such a palace. We are still people living in the human world. The environment surrounding us should be better than that of Mara, the evil one's retinue. Some people often say, this person is a demoness and that one is a demon king. They view appearances and the outer environment as demons. But in reality, it is not like this. Therefore, after studying the Dharma, one should think, becoming a Buddha is for benefiting beings, not enjoyment. So each person, toward their own family members, and toward their own friends, toward all those related to oneself, as I mentioned the other day, it is best to start with one's own hometown, start with one's own family, start with the friends around you. We should bring them happiness. This is one of our methods for benefiting sentient beings. This is very important. Vimalakirti said, although you reside in Mara's palace with this inexhaustible lamp, cause innumerable gods and goddesses to generate the intention to achieve anuttara samyak sambodhi. Thereby you will repay the Buddha's kindness and also greatly benefit all sentient beings. There is a sutra called the Sutra of Unprecedented Causes. It states in this sutra that if we benefit beings through the Dharma, this truly repays the kindness of the Buddha. Even for a single person, if one can benefit just one individual, this also truly repays the Buddha and the spiritual teacher. So the only way to repay their kindness is to benefit beings. At that time, the goddesses bowed their heads to Vimalakirti's feet. It was time to return. The Tang translation says that Vimalakirti, the retired scholar, withdrew his numinous power. It was not like before when he had frozen everything. Even the demon king could not move then. At this moment, he withdrew his supernatural power. After he withdrew it, Mara, the evil one, began to be able to move again. Oh, now I can finally return. Then he brought these women back to his palace. They suddenly all disappeared from our human world. Maintains the world Bodhisattva told the world-honored one, world-honored one, Vimalakirti is so formidably capable. His numinous power is quite impressive. I still remember it vividly to this day. His wisdom and eloquence were both very formidable. So I truly do not dare to go now. I truly do not dare. When he recalled these events, he again did not dare to go. It is very good indeed. He did not dare to go and inquire about the illness. All right, today, it seems that each story takes exactly one class. Not too many and not too few. It is quite fitting.
Bandara Badma Sodargye Bandara Gara Padma Sada Aham Bandara Gara Padma Sada